Deep in the uncharted stretches of space, the Zorvax fleet drifted like silent shadows. Ships of black metal and glimmering alloys moved in perfect formation, their bright sensor arrays scanning every corner of the void. The Zorvax were proud of their technology. Their sensors could detect anything from a tiny dust mote to a small spacecraft drifting tens of thousands of kilometers away. Commander Vryn stood on the bridge of the flagship Vorenus, his many limbs gripping the railings as he observed the displays. "Nothing unusual," he said, his voice calm but tinged with suspicion. "Our territory is quiet today. Quiet indeed. But the universe rarely stayed quiet for long." A faint blip appeared on a distant display. The sensor readings were irregular, faint, almost like a shadow moving against the backdrop of stars. The Zorvax technicians frowned. "Commander," one of them said, "there is something. It's not responding to our active scans. It does not emit heat, energy, or any signature we can detect." Vryn's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. No ship can hide from our sensors completely. Bring it up on all channels." As the technicians tried again, the blip vanished. The Zorvax fleet looked at each other in confusion. A ship. A ghost ship moving in their space without leaving a trace. Far away, hidden by the inky blackness of space, the human ship Dauntless glided like a silent predator. Its metallic hull reflected faint starlight, but no sensor could see it. Captain Alara Finn stood on the human bridge, eyes scanning her own monitors. "Steady," she said. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. "We're close to the Zorvax patrol.
Stay alert.
Remember, we move fast, quiet, and precise." Her crew, a mix of humans and AI assistants, nodded. They had trained for months for this mission. Humanity had learned that brute force alone was not enough to survive in space. Intelligence, creativity, and courage were their greatest weapons. Lieutenant Ryan, the communications officer, glanced at her. "Sensors still picking up interference, Captain. They'll never see us coming." Alara smiled slightly. "Good. Let's keep it that way." The Dauntless had a unique technology aboard. It was experimental even by human standards. Adaptive sensor jamming, active camouflage. Every system on the ship worked together to make it invisible in every spectrum the Zorvax might use. Heat, energy, radar, even gravitational distortions. It all disappeared when the system activated. Humanity had called it the Ghost Protocol. As the human ship drifted closer to the Zorvax fleet, the aliens on their bridge debated what to do next. Commander Vryn's instincts told him something was wrong. Ships didn't just vanish from sensors, not unless they were more advanced than the Zorvax had ever imagined. "Commander, it may be an anomaly," one technician said, nervously flicking through holographic displays. "Perhaps a malfunction in our arrays?" Vryn growled softly. "No, it is too deliberate. Someone is hiding from us. Someone is clever." Back on the Dauntless, Ilara reviewed the mission objectives again. Their job was simple in theory. Enter the Zorvax sector, gather intelligence, observe fleet operations, and return without detection. In practice, it was far from simple. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the ship could be torn apart by the alien fleet. Ryan's voice broke the quiet. "Captain, we're approaching Patrol Sector 12. Alara leaned forward. "Good. Switch to silent approach. No emissions. Let them see nothing but empty space." The ship moved closer. In the alien fleet, lights blinked and sensors hummed, but nothing unusual appeared. Commander Vryn frowned, feeling a rising tension. Something was approaching, something the Zorvax could not detect, and he did not like being blind. Suddenly, every sensor on the Zorvax flagship went dark. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge, alarms sounding a low, urgent hum. Vryn's many eyes widened. "What is happening?" he demanded. The technicians scrambled, trying to reboot systems, trying to find the source of the blackout. But it was no error, no malfunction. Something had interfered with every sensor simultaneously. For the first time in history, the Zorvax fleet could not see, could not predict, and could not defend. Alara felt a surge of adrenaline. The Dauntless's Ghost Protocol had worked perfectly. They were now invisible to an entire alien fleet, a fleet known for its intelligence and technological power. Ryan's voice was tense but excited. "We're in. They can't see us at all." Alara nodded. "Keep it that way. Observe and gather data. Do not engage unless necessary." The human ship drifted among the massive Zorvax vessels. It was like swimming through a field of floating towers, each bristling with weaponry, shields, and sensors. But none of them could detect the humans. On the alien bridge, panic was growing. "Commander," a technician shouted, "our arrays are completely blind. There is a vessel in our midst." Vryn clenched his claws, a rare gesture of anger and fear. "Impossible. How can a ship exist in our space without being seen?" He ordered ships to move in formation, attempting to force a detection, but every attempt failed. The human ship remained invisible, untouchable, a ghost moving through the fleet. Meanwhile, on the Dauntless, Ilara and her crew collected everything they could: fleet positions, patrol routines, energy flows, and weak points in the alien defenses. Humanity had never encountered the Zorvax before, but now they had the upper hand. Intelligence. Knowledge was as powerful as any weapon. Time passed slowly. Each second felt heavy with risk. If the Zorvax discovered them, there would be no time to react. Every decision had to be precise. "Captain," Ryan whispered, "they're beginning to realize something is wrong. Communications are erratic. They are scanning blind, but they sense us." Ilara's mind worked quickly. She had trained for moments like this, when fear and uncertainty could paralyze less disciplined crews. "We remain invisible. Do not make a sound, do not create a signature. Let them panic, but never know what is happening." Across the galaxy, humans were small, fragile creatures compared to alien empires like the Zorvax. But humans had one advantage that few could match: creativity. They could improvise, adapt, and find solutions where others saw only obstacles. That advantage had saved countless lives throughout human history, and it would save them again. In the alien fleet, Commander Vryn's mind raced. "This is unlike anything I have ever experienced," he muttered. His species valued logic, predictability, and order. The humans defied all of it. He realized with a growing unease that these humans were dangerous, not because of strength but because of cunning. The Dauntless continued its quiet journey through the heart of enemy space. The human crew worked efficiently, their movements synchronized, their eyes scanning every display, every readout, every subtle shift in alien activity. They were observers, spies, and explorers all in one. For the first time, the Zorvax fleet felt vulnerable. Their pride in technology and strategy faltered. They had faced enemies before, but none who could disappear from their sensors, who could move unseen among their ships and gather intelligence without a single shot fired against them. And so, in the vast silence of space, the humans glided on, calm, patient, and unafraid. Every sensor went dark. Every alien system faltered. Yet the humans remained visible only to each other. Ghosts in a galaxy that had never imagined them to be so powerful. As the Dauntless disappeared deeper into the shadows of Zorvax territory, Ilara allowed herself a small, quiet smile. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "They don't know what humans are capable of yet." And the stars, vast and endless, seemed to watch silently, as though aware that a new player had entered the stage, one that would not bow, one that would not retreat, and one that would remind the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Dauntless drifted silently through Zorvax space, invisible to every sensor, undetectable to every weapon. Inside the ship, Captain Ilara Finn stood at the helm, eyes scanning the holographic display that mapped the alien fleet in detail. Every patrol route, every formation, every energy signature was now visible to them. Knowledge, she reminded herself, was their true weapon. Lieutenant Ryan leaned over the display. "Captain, the fleet's rotation patterns are predictable. If we follow the main supply lines, we can gather data without triggering any alerts." Ilara nodded. "Good. We observe, but we do not interfere. Yet." She allowed a faint smile to cross her face. Humans had learned early in their history that sometimes the smartest strategy was patience. Meanwhile, across the alien fleet, panic had not fully subsided. Commander Vryn paced the bridge of the Varinus, claws tapping against the metal floor. He had never felt such unease. His sensors, his eyes, his intuition, everything told him there was something in their midst. Yet every attempt to detect it failed. "Run diagnostic on all sensor arrays again," he barked. "Scan in every spectrum. Something is hiding from us." Technicians scurried. Every system was rebooted, every frequency scanned. But still, the humans remained ghosts. On the Dauntless, Ilara's team was already discussing the Zorvax fleet's weaknesses. They knew brute force would be pointless. The Zorvax were too numerous, too heavily armed. Instead, humans would rely on what they always had: creativity. Our ghost protocol is working perfectly, Ryan said. We're untouchable in here. But we need more than invisibility. We need strategy, Captain. How do we make this count? Alara turned, eyes bright with determination. We observe first. Gather data on their fleet movements, on their command hubs, and on their patrol schedules. Then when the time is right, we can strike in a way they will never expect. As the Dauntless moved closer to the center of the fleet, they saw how the Zorvax operated. The aliens were methodical, disciplined, and confident, but also predictable. Their patrols followed strict schedules. Their communication protocols were rigid. Their overconfidence blinded them to possibilities outside their understanding. Alara noticed one thing that humans had mastered long ago: improvisation. Where the Zorvax relied on rules and logic, humans could adapt in real time, finding opportunities where others saw only constraints. That would be their greatest advantage, Captain, Ryan said, his voice quieter now, almost a whisper. They're clustering around the supply convoy. This could be our chance to gather the most valuable data. Alara nodded. Proceed, but maintain distance. Observe without engagement. We cannot afford detection, not yet. The humans drifted closer to the supply line. Massive transport vessels, brimming with energy cores and supplies, moved in formation, flanked by armed escorts. The Dauntless glided between them, invisible, recording every detail. Back in the Zorvax fleet, confusion was growing. Commander Vrin's claws clenched. How can this be? He muttered. Our sensors are perfect. Nothing can escape detection, and yet, something is here. Technicians reported anomalies, small energy fluctuations, irregular patterns, and fleeting shadows on internal monitors. Each anomaly caused further panic. The Zorvax were intelligent, but intelligence alone could not overcome the unknown. Alara watched carefully. They're starting to suspect, she said quietly. That's fine. Suspicion is good, it makes them predictable. Humans, she reflected, thrived on unpredictability. History on Earth had shown it again and again. Against stronger opponents, against seemingly impossible odds, humans could innovate, improvise, and turn weakness into strength. And now, in the void of space, that trait was proving more valuable than any weapon or shield. The Dauntless approached one of the Zorvax command vessels. It was massive, bristling with antennas, sensor arrays, and energy cannons. The humans could study its layout, its defenses, and its communication protocols, all without risking a shot fired. Imagine if the entire fleet moved like this, Ryan said. We could learn everything we need for a full-scale mission. Alara smiled faintly. That's exactly the point. Humans do not need to attack blindly. We gather intelligence, plan precisely, and strike at the right moment. Timing is everything. Suddenly, an alien scouting ship broke formation, moving in an odd pattern. The Zorvax technicians on the bridge reported the anomaly, but their sensors still detected nothing. Commander Vrin's eyes narrowed. They are playing with us, he hissed. Some intelligent force is among us hiding. Find it. But the humans had already seen the scouting ship. Using subtle maneuvers and the Ghost Protocol, the Dauntless observed the alien scouts' behavior without being noticed. Every response, every movement, every communication attempt was recorded. Alara turned to her team. We have them reacting exactly how we predicted. This is perfect. Humans are learning while they think they are teaching. Even in the alien fleet, changes were occurring. The Zorvax, confident in their superiority, could not comprehend a species that acted outside of expected rules. A ghost ship among them violated everything they had ever known, and for the first time the aliens felt vulnerable. As the Dauntless continued its silent journey, the humans observed another unexpected detail. Zorvax command ships communicated using a complex combination of pulses and subspace signals. By studying the timing, the humans could predict fleet movements, anticipate patrol patterns, and even map the entire fleet structure, all without firing a single shot. This is incredible, Ryan whispered. We could know more about their fleet than they do. Alara nodded. That's the advantage of thinking differently. Humans see connections others miss. Humans adapt when faced with impossible odds. That is why, no matter the size or strength of the opponent, we survive. As the day passed, the humans gathered hundreds of terabytes of data. Every patrol, every weak point, every pattern of movement, recorded and analyzed. It was slow, careful work, but in human terms, patience was a strength. They knew when the time would come to act, but until then, observation was key. Meanwhile, Commander Vrin grew more frustrated. The Zorvax fleet moved in tighter formations, scanning obsessively, but nothing changed. Every sensor check came back empty. It was as if the human ship did not exist. They are here, Vryn growled. I feel them, and yet we see nothing. How can a species exist that our senses cannot detect? Technicians glanced nervously at each other. The Zorvax were powerful, yes, but they had never faced something beyond their understanding. Fear, subtle and creeping, began to spread. Back on the Dauntless, Alara felt the shift. The humans were not just surviving, they were gaining an advantage. Knowledge, as she had often reminded her crew, was more powerful than weapons. Prepare for extraction, she said finally. We have everything we need for now. We will leave before they realize what has happened. Rian glanced at her. You think they suspect? They will, Alara replied. But suspicion without proof is dangerous. It makes them hesitant, cautious. That is exactly what we need. The Dauntless slipped out of the patrol zone, still invisible, still a ghost among the stars. The humans had proven something crucial, not through strength, not through firepower, but through ingenuity, patience, and clever strategy. And far away, Commander Vryn realized the truth too late. His fleet had been infiltrated, observed, and studied by a species he had underestimated. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were dangerous. Humans could operate outside the expected rules of warfare. Alara stood at the helm, looking out at the endless void. She knew this mission was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of threats and wonders alike. But humans had an advantage that no other species possessed. The ability to think, to adapt, and to find solutions where others saw only obstacles. Ghost protocol disengage, she said quietly, her fingers brushing the controls. The Dauntless returned to normal systems, still careful, still ready. But the humans had made their mark. Even unseen, even silent, they had proven their worth. And somewhere, deep within the Zorvax fleet, a new fear had taken root. Fear of a species that was small, fragile but unstoppable in its cleverness. Fear of humans. The stars stretched endlessly before them, cold and quiet. Yet for the humans aboard the Dauntless, the galaxy had just begun to open its doors. The Dauntless moved deeper into the Zorvax sector, navigating between massive warships and glimmering supply vessels. Every step of the way, the human crew remained calm, their ghost protocol keeping them invisible and untouchable. Yet tension hung in the air. The farther they went, the closer they came to something that might finally test their skills. Captain Alara Finn stood at the helm, eyes scanning the holographic displays. Keep sensors active at all ranges, she ordered. We don't know what's out there, and we cannot take risks. Lieutenant Ryan checked the feed. All clear so far. But I've detected something unusual on the far edge of the patrol zone. Alara leaned forward. Describe it. A small Zorvax scouting vessel. It's moving faster than expected, but its path isn't random. It's scanning the sector for anomalies. And we may be on its path. Alara's mind raced. Humans relied on adaptability and intelligence, but an unexpected encounter could always be dangerous. All right, she said. This is what we trained for. We observe first, act second. Everyone ready? The crew nodded. They had trained for months for moments exactly like this. Observation, planning, and improvisation were their tools, not weapons. The alien scout drew closer, its massive hull dwarfing what humans considered large ships. Its sensor arrays pulsed faintly, scanning every angle. On the Zorvax bridge, the crew looked puzzled. Something was wrong. Their sensors detected nothing, yet intuition told them that the anomaly, the Dauntless, was near. Commander Vryn's eyes narrowed. They are here, he said, his voice low but tense. I feel it. Something is hiding in our midst. Find it. But the humans had already anticipated the scout. The Dauntless maneuvered silently, adjusting its position to observe without being seen. Every data stream, every pulse, every pattern of movement from the alien scout was recorded. Alara's mind worked quickly. Ryan, what do we know about its scanning pattern? Ryan analyzed the readings. It's predictable. The scout sweeps the sector in a repeated sequence. If we adjust our position slightly, we can remain completely undetected. Alara nodded. Do it and mark every movement. This is our chance to study them up close. The human ship drifted gracefully, invisible yet watching. They observed how the Zorvax scout responded to minor disturbances. Debris, small energy bursts, gravitational shifts. Each reaction taught the humans more about the alien species, how they thought, how they reacted, and how they could be outmaneuvered. Suddenly, A small miscalculation. A micrometeor shifted close to the Dauntless, creating a faint disturbance in the gravitational field. The Zorvac scout immediately altered its path, scanning intensely in that area. Minor error, Alara said quietly, but nothing to worry about. Adjust shields to compensate and maintain position. We are still invisible. The alien crew, on the other hand, was beginning to panic. Commander, a technician said nervously, something is interfering with our sensors. It's not supposed to happen. Vrin's claws tightened around the railing. No system is perfect, he snapped. Continue scanning. It must be a small anomaly, nothing more, but the humans knew otherwise. The scout was no ordinary anomaly. It was about to experience human cunning firsthand. Alara made a quick decision. Ryan, let's show them what human tactics can do. We create a decoy, draw them away from the sector, and we continue gathering intelligence. Ryan's eyes lit up. How do you suggest we do that? Alara explained. We emit a low-energy signal in a pattern similar to a small cargo ship. The scout will detect it and investigate. Meanwhile, we adjust our position slightly and record everything it does. The crew executed the plan with precision. A faint invisible signal pulsed from the Dauntless, perfectly mimicking the energy footprint of a small harmless ship. The Zorvac scout detected it immediately, and its sensors locked onto the phantom vessel. Captain, Ryan whispered. It's following the decoy. They've taken the bait. Alara allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. Keep recording everything. We learn more from them chasing shadows than they could imagine. The scout chased the phantom through the sector, unaware that the real humans observed from a safe distance. Every maneuver the aliens made, every tactical decision was being recorded. The humans were learning the weaknesses, the over-reliance on patterns, and the predictable responses of a species that had never faced real unpredictability. Meanwhile, Commander Vrin noticed the scout's behavior. Alarm crept into his voice. It's pursuing something strange. But the anomaly is not responding as expected. Halt the scout, too late. The scout had been drawn far from the main fleet, and the humans had collected invaluable intelligence. Every sensor array, every energy reading, every pattern had been logged for future analysis. Ilara's team cheered quietly. They had succeeded without a single confrontation, without a single weapon fired. It was a victory of intellect and strategy, a human victory. Captain, Ryan said, excitement in his voice. We've learned more in this one encounter than they've learned in decades of patrol. We now know their scanning routines, their response delays, even how quickly they adapt to anomalies. Alara nodded. Exactly. This is why humans survive. We think, we adapt, we improvise. No amount of technology can replace creativity, and that is what makes us dangerous. The scout finally returned to the fleet, confused and slightly off course. The Zorvac's technicians reported unusual readings but could not make sense of them. Commander Vrin, frustrated, decided to investigate personally. Prepare an intercept, he ordered. We will find this ghost and eliminate it. But the humans had already anticipated this. Using precise maneuvers and timing, the Dauntless adjusted its path, remaining invisible while observing the fleet's reaction. The Zorvacs were beginning to realize that whatever had entered their space was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Alara addressed her crew. This encounter proves something crucial. They are predictable only if we understand their rules. But they cannot anticipate humans because we do not follow rules. They expect patterns, we break them. Rian smiled. And they think the anomaly is just a small ship. They have no idea it's a highly trained crew gathering critical intelligence. Alara allowed herself a moment of pride. Humanity had always survived by turning disadvantages into advantages. Small, fragile, and underestimated, humans had consistently adapted, improvised, and outsmarted opponents far larger and stronger. This encounter was just another example. As the Dauntless continued its silent journey, the humans observed another unexpected detail. Even the most advanced species relied heavily on pattern recognition. The Zorvacs were brilliant but rigid. They excelled at calculations, at engineering, at overwhelming force, but unpredictability, flexibility, and innovation were their blind spots. This is the key, Alara said softly. We do not need to fight them head-on. We exploit their blind spots, gather information, and strike only when the moment is perfect. The crew continued recording, adjusting, and analyzing. Every bit of data they collected would give humanity an advantage in the future. Not weapons, not numbers. Knowledge, the most powerful tool of all. Commander Vryn, meanwhile, grew increasingly agitated. The fleet remained on high alert, yet they could detect nothing. Every effort to locate the humans failed. And for the first time, the aliens began to fear the unseen. "Something is manipulating us," Vryn growled. "We cannot find it, cannot touch it, cannot anticipate it. This is unacceptable," and that was precisely what the humans wanted him to feel. Fear, uncertainty, frustration, emotions that clouded judgment and opened opportunities. The Dauntless finally withdrew from the immediate sector, maintaining invisibility and data integrity. Every crew member understood the importance of this mission. Humans had proven something fundamental. Strength was not only measured by weapons or shields, but by intelligence, creativity, and the ability to act outside expectations. Ilara looked at the stars beyond the ship's viewport. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "They will never see us coming next time, but we will see everything." The human crew, small yet fearless, had faced their first close encounter with the alien patrol and had emerged unscathed, victorious and wiser. And somewhere in the Zorvax fleet, the seeds of doubt had been planted. A species they had never feared before had shown them that cunning and intellect could challenge even the mightiest. The stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to humanity's quiet triumph. The humans aboard the Dauntless were invisible, but their impact would soon be felt across the galaxy. The Dauntless glided silently through the heart of Zorvax space. Its hull reflected faint starlight, yet no sensor, no radar, no energy scan could detect it. Captain Ilara Finn stood at the helm, eyes scanning the displays that mapped the massive alien fleet around them. Every ship, every formation, every energy flow had been memorized and analyzed. "This is it," Ilara said softly. "All of our preparation leads to this moment. Timing, precision, and patience. Our strengths will show now." Lieutenant Rian adjusted the controls. "We're in position, Captain. The central command hub is just ahead. If we execute as planned, we'll disable their communication network without firing a single shot." Ilara nodded. "Exactly. Humans survive, not because we are the strongest, but because we are clever. We strike in ways they cannot expect." The Zorvax fleet, meanwhile, remained unaware. Their sensors were functioning again, but the Dauntless moved like a shadow among them. Untouchable, undetectable, Commander Vryn paced the bridge of his flagship, unaware that the humans were now deep within the territory he controlled. "Something is wrong," a technician said nervously. "We've regained sensor function, but patterns in the fleet are changing. Ships are shifting unpredictably." Vryn's eyes narrowed. "They are hiding in plain sight. Find it." Back aboard the Dauntless, the humans prepared for the next phase. Using subtle energy pulses and precision maneuvers, they approached the central Zorvax command hub. The ship's ghost protocol ensured they left no trace. "Ryan," Ilara said, "we will disable their communications first. No alerts, no alarms. Only confusion. If they think their system is failing naturally, they will act slower." Rian activated the equipment. Tiny drones, no larger than human fists, slipped from the Dauntless, invisible to all detection. Each one moved with precision, entering the hub's network ports and subtly interfering with communication signals. On the Zorvax command hub, alarms began to flicker silently. Technicians glanced at each other in confusion. Signals were delayed. Orders were not reaching ships as expected. "What is happening?" Vryn growled. "Our communications, there are errors, interruptions. Investigate." Technicians scrambled, but the humans' interference was precise. No one could pinpoint the cause. Every attempt to trace the disruption ended in failure. Ilara watched the progress, her eyes sharp. "Good. They are confused, but not yet panicked. Keep the interference steady. Let them believe it is a system fault." Meanwhile, the Zorvax fleet began to slow their patrols, ships hesitating, unsure of what was happening. Commander Vryn's frustration grew. His fleet had never faced failure on this scale. Every system, every calculation, every sensor should have detected the anomaly, but it had not. "Scan the entire hub," he barked. "Find the source of the disruption. Someone is interfering with us." Back on the Dauntless, the crew continued their silent strike. Another set of drones infiltrated power grids. causing minor fluctuations that disrupted shields on select ships. Nothing catastrophic, nothing that could immediately threaten the Zorvax, but enough to create uncertainty. Their confidence is slipping, Ilara said quietly. Humans do not need to fight with brute force. Confusion is our weapon, knowledge is our strength. The human crew worked as one. Every movement was calculated, every action deliberate. They had trained for months to execute a mission like this, and now they were proving that strategy, patience, and ingenuity could be more powerful than any fleet. On the Zorvax hub, alarms began to spread throughout the fleet. Signals bounced back with errors. Ships hesitated in formation. Even the most disciplined officers were unsure how to respond. Commander Vrin's claws tightened in anger. This is impossible. Nothing can move undetected among us. Nothing! Ilara's lips curled into a faint smile. She had predicted this reaction. The Zorvax, brilliant as they were, relied too heavily on patterns and expectations. Humans, by contrast, thrived on adaptability and unpredictability. Captain, Ryan said, we've mapped every weak point in the fleet. We know their patrols, their communication nodes, their response delays. We could control their entire operation from here if needed. Ilara nodded. We do not need to control them. Only demonstrate that humans are capable. Fear and respect will follow naturally. Suddenly, a small Zorvax response team attempted to trace the interference. Tiny scout ships sped toward the hub, trying to locate the anomaly. The humans had anticipated this. Using ghost protocol and subtle energy manipulations, the Dauntless created false signals, diverting the scouts and keeping the real ship invisible. They think they're chasing us, Ilara said. Let them waste resources. Let them run blind. The scouts veered off, following phantoms that did not exist. Every move, every reaction was logged by the humans for future analysis. They were learning more about the aliens in one night than the Zorvax had learned in decades. As the central command hub faltered under invisible sabotage, the humans made their final move. Using precise calculations, they triggered a controlled blackout in the hub's main energy core, just enough to disrupt all communication signals temporarily without causing destruction. Across the fleet, ships hesitated. Orders failed to reach captains. Coordination faltered. The once proud Zorvax fleet, the mightiest in the sector, was thrown into chaos, all without a single human shot being fired. Ilara's crew celebrated quietly. Mission accomplished, she whispered. We've shown them that humans are more than they expect. In the Zorvax flagship, Commander Vrin roared in frustration. This is an outrage. How can a single vessel manipulate our entire fleet without being seen? Technicians shook their heads. We do not understand it, Commander. Sensors show nothing. Yet everything is disrupted. Vrin's eyes flicked to the last known position of the scout ships. Impossible, he muttered. We are being mocked by a species that should not even be here. Meanwhile, the Dauntless retreated, still invisible, still silent. They had struck the heart of the enemy fleet and emerged without detection. They had not fired a single weapon, yet they had proven humanity's superiority in strategy, intelligence, and teamwork. Ilara allowed herself a moment to breathe. This is what humans do best, she said. We adapt, we think. We act when the moment is perfect. Others rely on strength, we rely on ingenuity. Ryan nodded. They will not forget this. Even if they cannot see us, they know we exist. They will respect, perhaps fear, humans after tonight. The crew returned to routine observation, still collecting intelligence, still recording every detail. The Dauntless had shown its first strike, but the war of knowledge was far from over. Every piece of data gathered, every reaction observed, increased humanity's advantage in ways the Zorvax could not anticipate. Commander Vrin, unaware of the invisible threat, struggled to regain control. The fleet began to reorganize, but hesitation lingered. Confidence had been shaken. Even a species as proud and disciplined as the Zorvax could not ignore the possibility that a clever, unseen opponent had infiltrated their ranks. Ilara reflected on the encounter. Humans were small, fragile, and underestimated. Yet in every challenge they faced, from the earliest days on Earth to the stars above, humans had relied on creativity, teamwork, and intelligence to survive and thrive. The Dauntless continued its journey. Invisible, untouchable, but powerful in ways no weapon could match. Humans had struck the heart of the Zorvax fleet without bloodshed. without destruction, and had shown that intellect could be mightier than force. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to humanity's quiet triumph. Every sensor was dark, yet every decision, every maneuver, every calculated move had sent a clear message across the void. Humans were not to be underestimated, and somewhere in the Zorvax fleet, fear and uncertainty spread. They had faced empires before, enemies stronger and larger, but none as unpredictable as humans. And that unpredictability, the ability to adapt, to improvise, to think differently, was humanity's greatest weapon. Alara turned to her crew. "We've done well tonight, but this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and humans will rise in ways they cannot imagine." Ryan smiled. "They will never see us coming again." Alara nodded. The Dauntless glided forward, unseen, unheard, and unstoppable, not by firepower but by human ingenuity. The first strike was complete and the galaxy had begun to take notice. The Dauntless drifted through the empty blackness of space, calm and silent. Its hull gleamed faintly under the distant starlight, yet no alien sensor could detect it. Captain Alara Finn stood at the helm, watching the readings that showed the Zorvax fleet in disarray. Every movement they made, every hesitation, every confusion, the humans had recorded it all. "This is it," Alara said quietly. "The moment they finally understand humans are different." Lieutenant Rien checked the feed. "They're trying to reorganize, but every command is delayed. Their system errors are spreading. They cannot respond quickly enough." Alara nodded. Humans had not destroyed a single ship. They had not fired a single weapon. Yet the Zorvax were facing a crisis. Their pride shaken, their confidence undermined, their fleet uncertain. Intelligence and strategy had won where weapons could not. Far across the sector, Commander Vryn stood on his flagship, claws gripping the railings. His eyes scanned the holographic displays. Disbelief and frustration etched into his features. His fleet was intact, but coordination had failed at the most critical moment. Someone had infiltrated their territory, manipulated their systems, and disappeared without leaving a trace. How can this be?" he muttered. "No ship can exist in our space and remain unseen. Yet they have done it. They have controlled our fleet without a battle. This is impossible." On the Dauntless, Alara allowed herself a small smile. "Impossible for them," she said softly. "Not for us." The humans had achieved more than survival. They had demonstrated a fundamental truth. Human ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. A small, fragile species could outthink a vast empire by relying on creativity, patience, and adaptability. The Zorvax would remember this for a long time. "Captain," Ryan said, "they're sending signals now, signals of warning and curiosity. They don't know where we are, but they know we exist." Alara considered this. "Good. Let them feel our presence without seeing us. Let them realize that humans operate differently. Fear without understanding can be more powerful than any weapon." The humans decided to make one final move before withdrawing. Using subtle communication signals, they sent a controlled message toward the Zorvax command hub. It was not a threat. It was a statement. A simple, unmistakable fact. Humans were clever, capable, and not to be underestimated. The message reached the Zorvax fleet. Commander Vryn's eyes widened as he read it. The words were simple, yet their meaning was profound. Humans had acted in a way no alien species had ever thought possible. No direct attack, no violence, no open confrontation. Yet the humans had controlled the battlefield. "They are remarkable," a technician whispered. "We have never faced a species like this." Vryn's claws clenched. "They are dangerous, not because of strength, but because of intelligence. They operate outside our rules. They think differently, and that makes them unstoppable." Back on the Dauntless, Alara's crew prepared to leave Zorvax space. Every piece of data they had gathered was secure. Every observation complete. Humans had shown that they could survive among the stars not by overpowering others, but by using their minds. "Set course for Jump Point Alpha," Alara ordered. "We have what we need. It's time to return home." Ryan glanced at the alien fleet one last time. "Do you think they will remember this?" Alara nodded. "They will. And they will think twice before underestimating humans again. That is all we can hope for today." The jump engines of the Dauntless activated, creating the faint blue shimmer that would carry them safely out of enemy space. The ship disappeared from the Zorvax sensors, leaving behind only uncertainty and awe. On the Zorvak's flagship, Commander Vryn finally allowed himself to speak aloud. "We have underestimated them, and we will not forget it. Humans are different. They are extraordinary." The humans, meanwhile, reflected on their victory. No lives had been lost, no blood spilled, yet the lesson was clear. Strength was not always measured in weapons or numbers. Sometimes the most powerful force was intellect combined with courage, strategy combined with patience, and creativity paired with action. Ilara turned to her crew. "Humans have a history of surviving impossible odds. From Earth to the stars, we have adapted, improvised, and overcome. Today, we've shown that even in the vastness of space, that legacy continues." Ryan smiled. "And the galaxy will know it soon enough." The stars stretched endlessly before them, quiet witnesses to humanity's triumph. They were small, fragile, and underestimated, yet they had accomplished what empires had failed to do: demonstrate that intellect and adaptability were more powerful than fear or weapons. As the Dauntless moved through the jump point, Ilara considered the future. Humanity had only just begun to explore the galaxy. They would face more species, more empires, and more challenges. But humans had a unique advantage: the ability to think, to adapt, to innovate, and to act in ways no other species could anticipate. "Prepare for jump," she ordered. "Next stop, home. And from there, who knows? The galaxy awaits." Ryan glanced at her. "Do you think the Zorvaks will try to hunt us again?" Ilara shook her head slightly. "Perhaps, but they will never be the same. They have seen what humans can do without a fight. They will respect us, or at least fear underestimating us. That is enough for now." The jump engines hummed and the Dauntless slipped into subspace. Outside, the stars stretched into streaks of light, the endless void of the galaxy rushing past them. Within the ship, the crew felt a sense of quiet triumph. Humans had proven themselves once again, not through power, not through violence, but through strategy, ingenuity, and courage. Commander Vryn's fleet slowly reorganized, but the lesson had been learned. The humans had operated in ways the Zorvaks could not predict. They had outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and outthought one of the most advanced species in known space. And that knowledge would linger in the minds of the Zorvaks for generations. Ilara looked at the crew around her. "Remember this," she said softly. "The galaxy may be full of dangers, but humans have a history of surviving and thriving, no matter how impossible the odds. Today is just another example. We are clever, adaptable, and strong in ways that others cannot measure. That is our greatest power." The crew nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Humans had faced countless challenges, from planets at the edge of survival to the vast emptiness of space, and each time they had prevailed, not because of raw strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and creativity. The Dauntless jumped safely into friendly space. The mission was complete. Humans had shown that even a single ship, operated by a small crew, could challenge an empire and emerge victorious. The galaxy would never see humans in the same way again. Ilara stood at the helm, staring into the darkness of space. She felt pride not in destruction, but in the demonstration of human potential. The Zorvaks had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would shape the future of interstellar relations. Somewhere far away, in the corridors of Zorvak's command, Commander Vryn still fumed. His fleet was intact, but the confidence of his species had been shaken. They had been outsmarted by a small, fragile species. They had been reminded that intellect and creativity could overcome even the most powerful forces. And in the Dauntless, humans celebrated quietly, not with fanfare, but with the knowledge that they had done the impossible. They had faced a superior fleet, infiltrated its heart, disrupted its systems, and emerged unseen. No weapon had been fired, yet the galaxy had felt the impact of human ingenuity. Ilara finally turned to the stars, whispering to herself, "The universe is vast, but so are humans. And no one, not aliens, not empires, can predict what we are capable of." The stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to a quiet but undeniable truth. Humans were exceptional, clever, and adaptable. They were a species that could survive, thrive, and inspire awe across the galaxy. And this was only the beginning. The Dauntless sailed onward, invisible but victorious, carrying a crew of humans who had proven that even in the infinite expanse of space, intellect and courage could triumph over any obstacle.